Welcome back to another episode of Between the Sets with DRP. I am one of your hosts, Kyle. We're here across the table from gym owner himself, Donald Russell. Donald, what do we have to say to the people?
What's going on, my people, on this beautiful Friday?
Yes, sir.
Hope you're feeling it. Hope we're feeling well.
This beautiful rainy Friday. We've got, once again, another special guest coming from one of DRP's own coaching staff. We got performance coach Cam Hanna with us today. How we doing, Cam?
We're doing good. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, Cam.
For those of you that are new here, that are just tuning in for the first time, this is a podcast that is dedicated to educating, motivating, and inspiring the next generation of athletes, maybe middle-aged individuals who are looking to continue upon their own athletic journey, or maybe some more older, more experienced individuals that are looking to continue upon their own education, because it's never too late to learn about yourself, about your body, whatever you want. Today, we're gonna slow down a little bit and just learn a little bit here about Cam Hanna herself, a little bit about her story, where she comes from, her coaching style. I'll have her probably explain a little bit of her background if you want to take it away.
Who
here.
is baby Cam?
Who is Cam? Yeah, I don't know if we have to start that far back, but
Baby Cam.
Not that far back, but the fun fact I always like to start with is I am a triplet. So there's two more of me.
Two more Cams out in the world. Maybe we'll have them on the podcast in the future.
I have a brother who's in Tampa and then a sister who's here locally.
Okay.
Very cool.
A local as you get, born and raised in Jupiter, Florida. Right now, currently fitness trainer, coaching lacrosse at Benjamin, and also doing a little bit of a side gig of a social media job at a surf camp this summer. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, a little fun there.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of
Surfing,
everything.
lacrosse,
Do it all.
full blown bro.
Are we watching the rip currents?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Watch the rip currents.
They couldn't go on the beach last week. The beach was closed.
It was close?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll never go.
So you come from a pretty big lacrosse background, is my understanding. I've known you for a little while now. I've only known you to be a lacrosse player. We'll get into the surfing here a little bit too. But I guess tell us a little bit just about your background with lacrosse and just kind of, where you came from and where you're at right now with the Benjamin team.
Yeah, so lacrosse has been the biggest part of my life. I've been playing since I was in second grade, and I'm 25 right now and still playing. So you all can do the math on that. You all can do the math on that one. But yeah, look, since middle school all the way up to high school, college, it's been a big part of my life, and I wanted to. It still is. Can't really say what I have going on yet, but we do have still goals and dreams to be able to fulfill in the lacrosse career, as well as coaching. I'm coaching at Benjamin. I've been there for 3 years, going on my fourth, and I coach over at Florida Select down in Delray. I have the 2026s, which are the upcoming juniors, so this is their big recruiting year. So we have that this summer, and and it's honestly, it's called the medicine game for a reason. It's played a big part of my life, as anyone who has played the game can probably say the same thing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with you starting in the second grade, you said, did you have any other friends, family? Like, who got you into lacrosse? Like, was it something that you seen, you picked up, your friends played, and you're like, okay, I'm really good at this?
I think it was just I picked it up, met some friends along the way, and I was just like, hey, I love this, and I'm pretty good at this. So that was the biggest thing. My sister did play for a year, and she was like, this is not it. This is not for me. We'll have Cam take this one, and I'll do something else. Okay.
So what inspired you to become a coach? Because, it's been in your life. Well, actually, let me back up. Let me ask you a different question. Has there ever been a time where you've gotten bored of lacrosse? Because it's been in your life for all this time. Has there ever been a time where you've struggled with maybe burnout or, getting tired of it? Or has it never just not been fun for you?
I wouldn't say I've gotten tired of it. The burnout is a real thing. Especially playing at a high-end college level. Unfortunately, did have injuries in the past and current as well. I'm still dealing with. I've had 2 hip surgeries in the last 2 years, so that has made it a little bit difficult. but when you love something and you have a passion for it, a passion for yourself to get better, and a passion for everyone around you to develop a great game, you want to like always continue to pursue that. And I always say one of my biggest like quotes is, I'm not someone who doesn't try. I'm not someone who doesn't who I'll always go and try and attempt to live out a dream before I, get bored or call it quits or do something.
Yeah.
Now, with the injuries, like that's one of the biggest problems that most athletes come across. For yourself, how was it after that first surgery? Was that something that it took you a hard time to come back physically, mentally? Like what was kind of going through your mind after that? Because I think a lot of athletes could really relate to that.
Yeah, it was really tough. I had a stress fracture L5 in 8th grade, but that was 8th grade. You're still pretty young. You still want to be able to like pursue and do it because you're young. Your body's still developing. The older you get, and having had those 2 surgeries, it was absolutely brutal. And there was times where I did want to throw in the towel and be like, hey, like, this is just not worth it anymore. And especially because after surgery, I couldn't walk for 4 weeks because it's my right hip. So I'm someone who likes to like go and do things myself. My days consisted of like being driven to PT. And then sitting on the couch, having dinner being served to you.
Yeah.
Like, it was, like, very, very harsh. Like, even at PT, like, they had to move my leg for me or whatever it was. Like, I couldn't really go. And it's one of those injuries where if you do go too hard, too quick, like, you will screw it up.
You will screw it up, yeah. And I've known you long enough. You're not one person to sit still. Like, you do not like to sit still.
Sitting still is not it, no. So yeah, I mean, I would say like I did fall in a little bit of a depression. There was a little bit of mental health issues within that aspect. But with having a good support staff and a good supporting like PT, family, friends, coaching staff around me, like they were able to help me get through it. And that's still the case. Think after 2 surgeries, I would be okay, but the truth of the matter is I'm not.
It's still tough.
It's still tough. I'm on the last few steps here. I did get a few weeks ago an A2M injection, which is essentially like PRP, just helps decrease the inflammation and stuff like that. And that in and of itself was a brutal injection. It was very equivalent to me waking up from surgery. It was quick, but like I still can't tell if it's working or not because it's something that takes further factor. And unfortunately, the next step would be a 3rd surgery, whether it's a complicated surgery or they just go in and do a hip replacement. So that's in the factor. But again, like I'm someone who is like, I'm still playing and working out at a high level, and I won't have that 3rd surgery until it becomes a factor in my everyday life or in my performance.
Yeah, that's a young age to be able to have to consider like a hip replacement surgery.
Yeah,
that's crazy to think
probably
about.
break some sort of world record. 20,
youngest ever to get a hip replacement
26-year-old gets
surgery.
a hip replacement. So no, even though hip replacements have gone a long way these days, they get you moving pretty quick. But I've been telling all my friends, family, PTs, coaches, that a 3rd surgery would be it for me. It's a sign where it's two surgeries have already been a little bit of a sign, but I'm like you have goals and you have dreams, and like I said, I'm not someone who I'll always try to do everything I can to get to them before it's even possible, before we consider the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Were all of these injuries acquired through playing lacrosse, or were any of them like you were playing in a tree and fell out of it or something?
No, we've never had a little injury where you fall out of a tree or you fall down the stairs or something. They've all been through lacrosse. The back happened when I used to play middle school. I used to play goalie. I was pretty good at it, but once I got into the high school, college, I was like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And then the hip happened over college, and people were just like, well, when did you do it? I'm just like, I couldn't tell you. I could
yeah.
give you like I can give you like a pinpoint of when I think it happened, but labrums are one of those things where it's like a wear and tear. It's not like an ACL where you know right then and there,
Yeah.
like you have torn your ACL. It is wear and tear over the years. There is a little bit of a speculation that the back and the hip went hand in hand a little bit with like with like the compensation or having that low back injury go right into the hip. Like that's been a little bit of a speculation, but it was all through lacrosse.
Yeah, that's what's such an interesting mentality to me, because like you said, lacrosse has been your life since second grade, and you've acquired all of these injuries through playing lacrosse, and you've still kept pushing forward and pushing forward. And that's, like Donald said earlier in the podcast, I think that's something that a lot of young kids, because we have a lot of young athletes in here that are football players. I haven't had any clients, fortunately, that have had any crazy injuries yet, but I think that there's a lot to learn from that mentality. I think my next question from there would be like the risk versus reward for you. I mean, obviously that reward of playing the game and that fulfillment that you've gotten from playing lacrosse has far outweighed literally the cost that it's come to your body. So there's got to be just a ton of a mental battle and struggle in there.
There absolutely 100% is, and I've had a lot of those questions about quality of life.
Yeah.
After playing, like, I don't want to be in someone who is in chronic pain 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, will I be able to even work my way around a grocery store when I'm older? You know, type of thing. So, the quality of life is definitely something that has been in factor. You're hopeful though.
Yeah.
Because you have such a good support system, and I give a lot of credit to my PT and my coaches over at Cressy. Like we have a very found plan of, you know, making sure that I'm staying, you know, on top, whether it's like modifying things or just making me comfortable.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, like, I'm never not going to be like, there's always going to be some sort of pain involved. So it's just getting those positions that are uncomfortable and making them comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think many people can agree that it's very hard to find a good PT.
Yes. We got one right here at DRP Fitness and Health, though.
Yes.
Shout out Jasmine.
Jasmine.
If you're watching this,
She's gonna be on the pod next. Don't worry.
Yeah, so
Jasmine will be on the podcast. That'd be a good back-to-back to have, going
Yeah,
from
right.
someone who's
Yeah, right.
experienced so much PT to
Yeah.
a PT specialist herself, one of the best in South Florida.
You know
But anyways,
Yeah, so it's very hard to find a good PT, and it took me a while with my hips to get to someone good, but I do go and I make the drive. Honestly, I go to Barwis Physical Therapy in Deerfield Beach, and I have someone who
shout out.
I see there. Shout out Kelly.
Shout out
You're
Shout out
the-
Kelly.
Shout out Kelly.
Kelly, if
you,
you're
Kelly.
listening,
You're the GOAT.
she's the GOAT.
But yeah, so, and once you have that type of relationship and support and care, it's someone you want to hang on to, because
Yeah.
like I said, there's so many like people who think they know what they're doing, but it's pretty questionable, and or they do something and you're not very comfortable with what they're doing.
Yeah.
And especially with a type of injury like this, you have to be
Yeah.
in that right mindset. You have to kind of make it fun, and you kind of have to do everything to
Yeah.
like make it enjoyable, or that, you know, your mental health starts playing a factor, and it's like, do I want to actually do this?
Yeah. And so for the audience out there, I also played lacrosse in high school, middle school, and a little bit in elementary school. But I am one of those people out there that decided to hang up the cleats, hang up the stick, hang up the shoulder pads once I got into college. I was one of the only ones in my grade who didn't go on to play in the college level because I wanted to go pursue other things. I still found it to be very fulfilling, but especially, you know, talking to you, hearing about, again, you know, you've got stress fracture in your L5, you know, all these injuries. What has been that fulfillment for you that's kept you going? I know you mentioned that it's the medicine game and that you have this great love for the sport. But when you say that, like, what has kept you going, I guess it's like specifically throughout this entire process that, again, has quite literally cost you like a lot of your body?
Yeah. I think it's the way it makes me feel, as like
Yeah.
crazy as that sounds. It's like when I go out, when I go play, it is where I can just be me and where I can just do me, and I don't have to think about any other things that are going on in my life.
Yeah.
It is just Cam. It's just Cam and lacrosse, and it's a place where I can just take a breath, breathe, and, you know, get some things out if I need to, get some anger.
Yeah,
I
therapeutic.
call some of those shooting sessions anger management sessions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's just how, like, that's the fulfillment for me, is how it makes me feel. And it is the medicine game. It's like, it's honestly also kind of like saved my life a couple of times, where it's like you've been through what you've been through, but in the end, it's what got you through where you are now.
Yeah.
Because like college wasn't easy. Like I went to Georgetown College in Kentucky, where I was going from living in Florida my whole life to then going to a college in
Kentucky is
Kentucky,
very different
in
from
the
Florida.
middle of
Yeah, no
It is
beaches.
very-
you're not in a little like suburban, like you're
Yeah.
in like farmland, like we're in Yeehaw
Yeah.
Town, like
I did 2 years. I did 2 years at University of Kentucky. It was.
Yeah, Kentucky.
It
It
is
is weird.
It
You
is
guys both did
so
a
weird and
tour
it's
in
so
Kentucky.
different.
A tour of Kentucky.
And
Yeah,
unfortunately, I had a coach there who was verbally abusive.
Oh wow.
So, and that also made me feel like, is this even worth it anymore?
Yeah.
And then after a few thoughts, I transferred back home to Kaiser. Luckily enough, had a great coaching staff there, great teammates there, won a national championship in 2021.
Let's go.
So
Shout out
I
to
was
Kaiser.
able,
Shout out Kaiser. They just won another
their
national
men's went back
championship.
to
They're-
back. Yeah.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Kaiser.
they're doing good things over there in South
like
Florida.
it. We
Kaiser
like it.
University.
Go Panthers.
Yeah. And then
they the Panthers?
Panthers, yep.
I didn't-
Gotta throw that in there.
I was
I
thinking
had to
Florida
throw-
Panthers. I was
No.
like, Donald, you got the wrong team,
Nah, baby.
brother.
Hockey, baby. Hockey. Go Panthers.
Panthers all the way around.
Yep,
except for
yep.
the Carolina Panthers.
No, yeah. They can
Yeah.
sit
They
back.
can take a step back. They don't have Panthers in
We don't like
North
you,
Carolina.
We don't like you. Carolina.
Yeah, but like once I had that positive atmosphere again, it made it worth it again. So it's like it made it like this is fun.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, go ahead.
And basically, and it was also fun because I got to play my old team with the old coach, and
Oh yeah.
you know how that goes.
Yeah, it's a
You
little bit of
know.
retribution.
Makes you feel so
I
good.
remember my last year, it was my last year, and I scored the first goal against him, and I remember turning my head to him, and we made eye contact, and that was all that needed to be said.
Little head nod.
Little head nod,
yeah.
like yeah.
That one's for you, Coach. Do you have any advice out there for young players that are dealing with, either a verbally abusive coach or a coach that they don't agree with, or like just ways that you kind of got through that season or those tough practices?
Yeah, I would just say, like, at the end of the day, you're the only person that matters. You and your team, like, you're one. Okay? So there's always that aspect of, like, family, and, like, he's just one person. Their coaches are just one person. You don't always have to agree with what they say, as long as you and your teammates, like, stick together, and you stick together, and if you truly do love it,
Yeah.
then just stick with it. Now, if you don't love it, that's another
Yeah.
that's another iffy
Yeah,
question.
and
Then
it's
you got
extremely hard.
then you really got to start thinking, like, if
Yeah.
I'm not in this for myself or for my team, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
Then you got to really like sit back and be like, is this something I want? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you truly love something, it is always going to be worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How was that transition going from playing at the high school level to now you playing at the college level, just from an athletic standpoint? Like, was the game, a little bit more faster, studying
Yeah.
a little bit more film?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going from high school to college, you're bigger, faster, stronger. Okay, and that's what I tell like my high schoolers now is you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You might be a midfielder, but they might see you as something else, and you have to be okay with them basically transforming you into another player. But the game in and of itself, it is a lot faster, and especially when I was in college, they started adding like the free movement. So like during a whistle, you can still go. So they mean it when they say lacrosse is the fastest sport on 2 feet, because it is very, very, very fast, and it's very physical. Like you can get away in college with a lot more pushes or physical play here and there versus like high school, everything under the sun, moon, and stars it's called.
Yeah, I remember watching, like, we would stay after and watch the girls, like, the FHSAA
It is
games.
whistle, whistle,
and the
whistle,
ref
whistle.
would
I'm
blow
just
the
like, let
whistle
them
for the
play.
littlest thing.
Let them play.
I've heard that girls across and at the college level is a lot more
Yeah, the high
contact.
school refs here are very, very questionable.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the biggest thing. And I think the biggest thing, and what I tell like my girls all the time, and and when I'm coaching them is you can't just think I'm going to this college for lacrosse, because and at the end of the day, you are a student athlete. And I hate putting this into perspective because you don't ever want to put it into perspective. But if you're in a college and you're looking at a college and you're going on a tour, I always say, if you were to have a career or season-ending injury like an ACL, would I still be happy here?
That's great advice.
It is a
huge-
perspective you
Yeah.
don't
That's
you
huge
like.
one.
Oh, why am I saying like what if I get injured? But what if you do?
Yeah.
Like what if you tear your ACL? You're out for the season. But if you went there just for lacrosse, that's taken away from you for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, are you still happy at the social life at that school with the academics? Because if not, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because when I was considering playing in college, I would go on a couple of like tours and like meet some of the players when I was like a freshman and sophomore, and that's what they would always say too. Kind of, would you ever hear that when you were going on like football tours? I can't imagine like football teams saying that, like, oh, like make sure you like the college itself. I feel like football is very like football. Think about
It's
the
mostly football program, and the program kind it pretty much hides the actual school in itself or the
Yeah.
environment in itself. Because you can say somewhere, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, but Gainesville, like.
Hey,
I don't know
watch
too
it.
many people who go to Gainesville. So
Go Gators.
go Gators.
Yeah.
But like, if you're saying, oh, you just want to go live in Gainesville, or are you going to play the sport?
Yeah.
Playing at UF is unbelievable, no matter what sport it is. Outside of that,
You
what
got
are
pretty much nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what
It's
are
a
you
swamp.
doing
What are you
outside?
doing?
It's a
Yeah.
swamp.
It's the reason they call the
it's the
stadium
reason
the
they call it the
swamp.
swamp.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my college coaches telling me that, and our head coach, he mentioned to us, when he talked to kids or athletes, and he tells them, if you're going to pick a college, pick somewhere that you actually wouldn't mind living or getting to know the actual environment and the city and knowing other people.
Yeah.
If you're in Florida, are you really going to be happy living in Wisconsin or Maine? Not saying that those are bad places,
Yeah.
but you go from extremely hot to extremely cold or just in totally different environment.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere that you really wouldn't mind, living afterwards?
Yeah,
That's
where
the
like
key.
that's where I was basically like I look back now, I'm just like, Cam, you were in Kentucky for 2 years. Like, what?
Yeah.
2 tours in Kentucky.
2 tours in Kentucky.
Like, what were you doing?
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
tours in Kentucky.
And
That Lexington, my 2 years in Lexington was like, Lexington wasn't bad, but
No.
it was definitely
Yeah.
was like, they had the first week or the second week, they had an ice storm. I haven't dealt with anything below like 50 degrees here in Florida. And if I did, it was maybe for how it's like a week, maybe
Yeah.
3 days probably tops.
Maybe
and
a
I was
cold
like,
rain every once in a
I
while.
was like, yeah, we got an ice storm coming. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? I'm like, yeah, wind chills is probably be like -12. And I'm like,
A wind chill.
a what? Like, what is that? I just remember walking.
wind chill?
I remember walking to class and like the wind was cutting my. It felt like somebody was taking a knife and it just slightly just cutting my cheeks. And I was like, yeah, I can't do it.
I remember just walking into class, and like one day or one class, it would be like nice, sunny. I walked out of one class and it just started snowing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah,
this?
that
And
takes me-
you're just like not prepared for it, but that's like Kentucky. And then you go back to like West Palm, you're just like, all right, we're back.
Those,
Nice and hot,
We're
baby.
back.
Those trips back home for Christmas and Thanksgiving must have felt extra nice. That's how it was when I was living in Boston. I'd get down here, it'd be like sunny 75. I'd be like, I really have to go back to the
Yeah.
20-degree weather.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
gotta be-
that's like one of the big perspectives that I would put for going from high school to college. Another one is getting in the gym. That is the ultimate, and I have to I make sure my girls, especially once you hit junior year. Once you hit junior year, you have to be in the gym. Like the bare minimum you can do is go to the gym.
Yeah.
Conditioning, running, sure it helps, but it's not what's going to get you to where you want to get. And especially if you're talking about an injury point of view too. You hear all about these like ACL injuries and stuff like that. You can't prevent ACLs, but like I said, the best thing you can do for yourself is to get strong.
Squat.
Yeah.
Is to get strong.
Squat it.
So get yourselves into the gym. I don't care what it is or what you're doing, but just being strong, because if you're weak in your lower body and you try and go and make like moves and stuff like that, you're not going to.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not
You're
gonna happen.
going to have injuries. And I think we saw a lot of injuries this year on on when we were playing teams. Luckily, we didn't have any injuries because we do off-season strength and conditioning.
Strength and conditioning programs are huge.
So we were very, very lucky. We did have one scare, but again, I take a lot of credit to, those girls being in the gym versus like you see these other girls and they're like, they had an ACL. One was just a goalie who came out and she was it was a very unfortunate circumstance. The other one was like, she had like hamstring injuries and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, if you're already weak in your hamstring, you gotta be able to protect like all the muscles around it. They're just naturally gonna be, all those muscles are naturally weak. Like whether she tore it on our field or not, she was probably going to eventually, tear it. So I think just like the best thing you can't, unfortunately, like ACLs, they just happen. It's just a part of the game. It's a part of life. It's part of sports. It's not just lacrosse. But the best thing that you can do is go to the gym. And like I will preach it every single time.
Are there any exercises specifically that you recommend for young girls lacrosse players, or exercises that you've implemented into your routine that you've found tremendous benefit from on the field, or just overall get strong and stay fit?
I think the biggest thing at Benjamin, we were big on before we would do 3 stations to start practice. You'd have your dynamic warm-up, you would have footwork, and you would have some sort of reactive based stuff. I think the reactive based stuff is super, super. I did this with the distributor boys. Is you are starting on a clap and you're ending on a clap in a split stop, or a regular jump stop, or a single leg stop, because lacrosse is, you got to change direction on a dime. And if you don't have that, hey, I'm planting right here, right now type of thing, if you don't know how to do that, or you don't do it often, that's where like those injuries can happen. You go one way, your body goes the other. So if you're already fine tuning, hey, I'm stopping, I know how to stop on a dime, great. Also, just anything like lacrosse, like if you think lacrosse wise, dodging, you're going on one leg. So I'm a big proponent on like, squats, or I love Bulgarians. I don't love them myself.
Best quad exercise in the game.
I don't love them myself. I question my life when I do them.
That's what makes them so good.
That's what makes it. All right, so now you just finished high school, we just finished college. Talk about your transition going into now personal training, and now you're coaching some of the young lacrosse athletes.
Yeah, so I graduated with exercise science, major in exercise science. What got me into that was essentially like, I've had so many, experiences, whether they're injuries or with other coaches and with other coaching staffs, where it made you fall in love with the process of what they do and how to help people, whether it's in a injury standpoint or just a natural, hey, I'm helping someone change their active lifestyle. So I think doing that was my biggest like, yeah, this is definitely something that I want to do when I go. So I think when I grow up, so I think just doing that, has really brought in like that aspect of just like overall like feeling good about what you do. So personal training is definitely like very, very, very rewarding. And going in from college, you have all these like, and like one thing I do like about it is just you can get advice from pretty much anybody. Like you do something, you're just like, oh, you watch someone do something, you're just like, oh, that's pretty cool, like I'm gonna add that into my like training protocol and stuff like that. So I think all of that is just like super, super, important, watching other people do what, watching other people, seeing what they do and like bringing it into all different types of like aspects and stuff like that. And I think for the coaching side, it's a good way to just stay involved in the game. I've always wanted to do coaching, and I've always like have had that passion of coaching and growing the game of lacrosse, because it is just, and I would say in Florida now it's just starting to get like really, really big. It's not your Long Island, Maryland big, but it's pretty close. It's really grown. And I think it's just like when you see someone transform into, into that type of player where, you know, they go and play and stuff like that. And at that college level, it is very rewarding. And, you know, at Benjamin, we're a very high-end program. So we have those, kind of treat our high school program like it is a college program. So we do have a lot of girls who do want to go play at that level. So I think it is very exciting to see where they go and how far they can go. And yeah, it's both personal training and coaching. It's just one of those super rewarding experiences that, you know, you feel good about.
Now, is the way you've coached, the way you've been coached when you played in high school and in college, do you bring that same philosophy to your young athletes, or is it a different style that you have to coach now? Because the sport is picking up down here in Florida, so I'm sure it's a different style if it was somewhere up north. But what's the kind of philosophy that you bring, you know, to your high school athletes now?
No, yeah, I like to do I like to kind of like bring what I was taught into with my high schoolers. More so Benjamin than the travel team, like down south.
Yeah.
But we're very big on, you know, in college we always did this thing called first five and last five, which you would start practice with 5 minutes of conditioning, end it with the same thing. And then just like having that, just having like the way you start and the way you end, everything in the middle is like very, very fast paced and quick, which is kind of like how it is in college. And you know, luckily me and the head coach at Benjamin were kind of two peas in a pod, so we pretty much agree on the same thing, same game plan, and, you know, create something that is, you know, fun, but it's also like you're gonna work. And I think like I don't really like take crap the type of coach, so you're very like I'm very big on, you could have all the talent in the world, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't have discipline. I think discipline is one of the most lack of things that we see
especially now
in high school and young athletes is discipline. They're just like, oh, I'm such a good lacrosse player, like I'm such a good football player, or like I'm so good.
Complacency is what it sounds like.
And then I'm just like, you got to be able to prove it to yourself and to others, and you got to be able to take what you can take from coaches, and if you can't, then you're not going to be able to go far.
Yeah.
Discipline is what I take pride in, and you got to be able to love it too. Like, you can't be like, I'm so miserable here, I'm so miserable working out, like no, like you got to have the passion, you got to have the discipline,
And have fun with the process too, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to be, you know, the best person on the field, but if you're a freshman in high school and you're the best person on the field and you're getting complacent and you're not bettering yourself each and every day by 1%, then your opponents are going to catch up to you.
and that you see that a lot. Like, a lot of these high school girls or boys, they go into college thinking like they're the best player in the world because that's what they were. That's what they were in high school. And you get to those times in college, and you're just like, you got to have a little bit of like, it's a very humbling experience where, oh crap, someone's better than me.
Yeah.
And
It's a wake-up call.
it's a wake-up call, and that's where
And it's
you
coming.
where you kind of have to have like that, you know, like, I got to put in work, I got to work, you know. So discipline and all that is, and just having like the right mindset is really big, because like I think the biggest thing we see, especially in high school and college, is like, you want to have fun. I'm talking about your social life. You want to have fun, but there is a certain point where it's too much.
Yes.
One of my favorite phrases, and my high schoolers know this, is work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Like, just use your brain.
Yeah.
Because
Be a thinker.
there's a lot of times where you think like, oh, I'm going to go have fun, I'm going to go do this. Next thing you know, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And like, we see it all the time. And you don't ever want to be that player, or you don't ever want to be that team where you have so much potential, but because your social life is not where it should be, you're getting yourself in trouble, is why you don't go as far as you can, or why you aren't starting, or why your team can't make a national championship or go to states. It's because you don't have your crap together off the field.
Yeah.
Now, I do have one last question. What do you think about because you came from the high school to college level and now you're coaching, what do you think about the NIL deals? It's such one of those tricky.
Like
but
in college, or now how they just added
now
that
actually
they're
both.
doing
In
in high
college,
school now.
in college too, but now that it's transitioned to now it's coming to high school. Like, what's your take on it being that athlete and now you're coaching it, and you're young enough that where you've seen the game change very quickly.
Yeah, there's a certain point in NIL where it's getting a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You can understand how you had to have all these sponsorships and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure some athletes, like, want to, like, I have some of my own personal sponsors, but I'm just like, but I waited till I was after college to do so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personally, if I had the opportunity to in college now, I don't think I would. You do see it so much. The high school level, football in college, let me retract to college real quick. Football in college, it's understandable.
Yeah. You get it.
You get it, especially if you want to go pro. You got to be able to have some sort of standpoint to that. You see it a lot in women's basketball now. Great, but like there's some points where it's like this is just getting out of control and this is ridiculous. Same thing with the transfer portal, which is it's in of its own mess.
Yeah.
High school, let the kids live.
Yeah.
Let the kids live. There's no way, there's no right to have an NIL in high school.
Yeah.
It's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is.
You start to pull different.
You're
ranks.
really
Yeah.
pulling some strings here.
You're adding a lot of stress on these young kids, especially when
Yeah.
you're talking about like enjoy the process, enjoy your life while you're young. Like still give everything on the field
You
that you
only
have,
get-
but you only get your childhood once.
Yeah, and you only get one opportunity to play in high school and to play in college, and you want to be able to make the most of it. And sometimes these NIL deals, like it's too much of the. Here's what I would say: it's NIL. It's being too much of the talk in sports instead of who these athletes are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look at like a Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese or all these high end like football players, where it's just like, oh, they have Reebok, Gatorade, whatever it is, but who are they as people?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that people don't understand, especially in like the reporting standpoint, are athletes are humans. Like we are totally human. We deal and we battle our own things. And so like, let them be that. Let them be humans. Let them, but like with the whole NIL, there's a point to where it gets a little bit out of control. You understand it to an extent, but let us athletes live.
People become transactional.
Yeah.
And people become in and of themselves transactions. So don't become a transaction out there. Closing thoughts. Enjoy your life. Listen to Coach Cam here. Don't get complacent. Complacency is a disease. Stay disciplined. Remember, motivation is fleeting. Discipline is forever. If you stay disciplined, if you stay on the path and enjoy the path, you will go a long way. To all you kids at home listening, and even, as we say, middle-aged individuals or older people looking to continue upon their learning experience. Keep it going. Cam, thank you so much for joining us and imparting your wisdom. Your story in and of itself is incredible, and we really appreciate you coming on here and shedding a little bit of light on what you've been through. And we love the things that you're doing out on the field with the young kids and kind of transmitting your story and the things that you've learned to that next generation of athletes, especially in a sport that's growing as much as it is in lacrosse, becoming, that fastest sport on 2 feet and growing at that same rate. So keep doing what you're doing out there. That's all the time we got today, folks. For those of you at home listening, thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. As always, continue to better yourself, continue to educate, motivate, and inspire yourself. You only get one life, so live it right. Remember, to hit that subscribe button. If you like what we're talking about and you don't want to miss another episode, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, especially give us that support. If you disagree with us, if you disagree with anything that Cam said, drop a comment. If you like anything that Cam said or me or Donald said, go ahead and drop a comment and support us as well. Until next time, though, continue to be great. Again, continue to educate yourself and stay on that path, and great things will come your way.
Get those tacos on this Friday.
Get those tacos on this Friday. All right. Until next time. See ya.